Welcome to the Limitless Entrepreneur Podcast, your weekly dose of strategies and mindset tools to build a business in alignment with your purpose and to get you playing a bigger game. I'm your host, Nicole Lano. Hello, and welcome to the Limitless Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Lano, and we're talking just us today, where this episode is it's a human design episode. These are my solo episodes, are very much dedicated to human design right now, because I do believe that it kind of opens the door to helping you understand how you operate correctly. This is what I found. It's having such a profound effect on my clients and everybody I work with and the people I do readings with, where I get these messages where people are like, oh my God, this caused such a breakthrough so quickly. So that's why there's such a focus on this topic on the podcast, because there's so much potential here. And today we're doing this. This one is for the generators and manifesting generators, but also if you have a manifesting generator or generator in your life, this can be very useful for you too, to understand them more. That is what this helps with. Human design not only helps us understand ourselves more, but when we understand what other people are in our lives, when we understand their type, their authority, their design, it helps us to be more compassionate, more open with them, and it can show us exactly how we can work with these people so that we're enjoying the time that we have together, so that we're not, when we say don't sweat the small stuff, this tells you what the small stuff is, and it tells you what people can and cannot help. Some things are just who we are. It's not actually anyone trying to be lazy or to leave you with all the work or to make you crazy with all their energy. It tells you how energetically we are feeding off of each other all the time. So how your energy is affecting you, but it's also affecting everybody around you. So that's how powerful this is. It's super powerful. So if you're a manifesting generator or generator, I'm going to tell you 3 things that you can shift to really start to change your life. And if you have a generator or a manifesting generator in your life, particularly if you're a parent and you have a generator or a manifesting generator child, whether you are or not yourself, you're going to want to take some notes. Okay. So first of all, generators and manifesting generators, they're 70% of the population are gens and mani-gens. Now, these two split up about 35% generators, and the balance, I think it's about 35, and maybe it is 35 and 35 at this point. It's slightly more geared toward the generators. There's slightly more generators than there are manifesting generators. So the strategy for gens and mani-gens is to respond. It's to respond. And when we hear this, now what makes it, let me just back up here for a second. If you look at the body graph, now you know the body graph, for those of you who are new to human design, if you look at the body graph is a bunch of shapes. There's 9 shapes, and there's a bunch of lines, and colored in and white numbers. Some of the lines are colored in, some of the numbers are colored in. Those are called gates, the numbers. The lines are called channels, and the shapes are called centers. Now, the center, the second one up from the bottom. So you'll notice this looks a lot like the Hindu chakra system. If you know the chakras, then this starts to look familiar, but it's like 8, but it's not exactly the same. That's because the chakras go right through the center, whereas this shows that 9 centers, not 7, but 9 centers in the body and in the body graph. Now, these represent the energetic hubs in the body. Energetic hubs, where energy is concentrated and how it flows through your unique individual system. So if you're looking at the centers, you'll notice there's a square at the very bottom, which would be at like the base of your spine. And then there's another square just above it that is the sacral. And that looks like it's right where the sacral chakra, it's the same name, where right behind your navel, around there, your gut. That center, now you'll notice that some of them, if you're looking at your chart, some centers are colored in and some are white. If you have the sacral center, the second one up from the bottom, if you have that colored in, you are a generator or a manifesting generator. If you don't have it colored in, you are not. That is what determines a generator from non-generators. Now, the sacral center is life force energy. This is creative energy. It's the center of sexuality. It's the center of creation. It is the center of work. Now, what is somewhat defeating when I first heard this, they were like, generators and mani-gens are the builders of society. They're the workers. And it made it sound like, manifestors are these visionaries, projectors are the guides, reflectors are these beautiful, spiritual guides that can show us different things about ourselves and what is happening within our communities. And then it's like, and then the generators, you guys are the workers. It sounds so defeating. No, if you're a generator, you probably, and I'm going to use the term generator because gen, mani, gen, we're going to use them together unless I'm talking about them. And I'm saying something specific about one of the types. But if you have, for generators in general, all generators, we love to work. You probably can't imagine life without working. So if you're a generator, then, and people tell you like you should take more time off, or, you don't have to be so busy. You probably do have to be a little bit busy. And your centers, which centers you have defined in your chart, are going to determine how much that either does or does not ring true for you. That's why your whole chart matters so much. It's not just the type. But what I want to talk to you today about, so I want you to understand if you're a generator, you have that sacral center defined. So that one is colored in on your chart. And your strategy is to respond. So no matter what, if you are a generator, your strategy is to respond. Now, when people first hear this, and I thought the same thing, the strategy is actually wait to respond. I don't really say the wait part, only because it can feel like people feel like it's a death sentence. Because most of the people, if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably an entrepreneur. The last thing you want to do is wait for anything, let alone your success or your ability to do something. In fact, you're probably listening to this and learning things like human design and other modalities to try to get you into gear. If you feel stuck, the idea of waiting sounds like, are you kidding me? Why would I want to do that? Now, I want you to, so the first thing that I have for you, because I'm going to talk, this is, like I said, this is about 3 shifts that you can make. These are shifts in thinking and these are shifts in doing. This one, I want you to stop thinking of this, if you are already, like this death sentence, like I wish I didn't have to wait. I wish I was a manifestor. I wish I didn't have to wait to respond. And I just want you to focus on the second part, which is to respond. It's a gift. It is a gift to respond. Because if you're trying to initiate, which is what most generators are, this is telling you exactly why it's not working and telling you exactly what to do in order to get yourself in gear. The waiting part, you are going to do it, but you're not going to be waiting, like sitting around. We've had this visual of ourselves sitting around and waiting for something to happen. And that's not how it works. It works by you noticing both your sacral response and what life is giving you. Is it telling you, or is it telling you, Is life giving you, does your dog walk over to you in a moment? You're going to respond to that. You're listening to this podcast right now. You are in response to this. You're in a conversation with people. That is a response. So a question you can ask yourself is, am I giving myself things to respond to? Am I allowing life in? Am I noticing life? Or am I running through life thinking about how I can make something happen? Is your first thought in the day like, what am I going to do today? How am I going to get it done? Not a generator strategy. That's not your strategy. That's initiation. That's a manifestor strategy. And I know that sounds easier, but it's not. If you talk to a manifestor, a lot of them will tell you that it's not. It's not about that for them either. They don't have the consistent energy that you have to be doing all the time. So they have different battles to fight. But your battle is, how do you access the life force energy that you have in your sacral? And you do that by responding. You do that by, when you're in response, the sacral turns on. So initiation is not your strategy. You're not turning your sacral on that way. You're going to feel stuck. It's going to feel like you are grinding the gears on a car or driving through thick, thick mud. That's not what we want. We want flow. How do you get to flow? You respond to things. You hear something in this podcast that makes you think something, that makes you feel something. Your gut lights up. Suddenly you have all of this inspiration flowing through you. Go work with that. Notice how it changes how you operate, and give yourself time between things. Give yourself moments in between. Build it into your calendar, build it into your schedule, that you have time to enjoy yourself, to respond to things, that you are setting your life up in a way where you're not locking yourself in a room trying to get stuff done. That's probably not going to inspire you. That's not going to light you up. If you're not lit up, you're going to be in resistance. And that's the name of the game. When you are following your strategy and your authority, and we're talking about strategy in this episode, specifically one, but when you're following your strategy, you are in flow. The floodgates open. Suddenly everything becomes easy. And when you're not following your strategy and you're trying to live out somebody else's, then just recognize that you are going to hit resistance. Okay. So am I giving myself things to respond to? That's your first shift. Am I letting life in? Am I giving myself something to other than me and my drive? And that could be going to a coffee shop. That could be, taking a morning walk. That could be talking to somebody on the phone. That could be anything. That could be watching a video, anything where you are in response and paying attention to whether your gut is telling you yes or no about it. The second thing is response is not an invitation. And that's a common misconception. Response is not an invitation. So it's not that formal. So if you're a generator, a manifesting generator, and you're sitting on your hands waiting for somebody to invite you to something, then that's not your strategy either. And it doesn't have to be that hard. It's much more free flowing with this. It is a dance with life that you are in. And you might have heard that term before, but I want you to think about it. It's like if you look outside and the sun is shining and you go, and you want to go out and you want to go for a walk, then go for the walk. And if something else comes to you, so if you're listening to this podcast and it makes you think of a time with a friend of yours, maybe that's cluing you in and saying, and you want to give them a call, or you want to send them an email. You don't know where that's going to lead. But the idea is that when you are lit up, you are in flow. And the responses do not have to be invitations. They don't have to be formal invites for you to be in response. Response is anything. Response is opening the refrigerator, seeing something on the shelf and feeling your gut go, yes, I want that. That's response. You're responding all the time. So pick up a book, do something. If you're alone, that's okay. Give yourself something to respond to. Number 3, response does not come from your throat. Now, if you're a manifesting generator, you have a motor connection to your throat, meaning one of the 4 motor centers in the body graph, the sacral, the root, the ego, or the emotional center, are directly or indirectly connected to your throat, meaning you have energy that's pumping from that energy center, and there's a connection that gets that energy to your throat. And that makes you a manifesting generator. If you're a generator, you do not have that motor to the throat. So there's less of that feeling like you need to talk. You might not encounter this one shift as much. But when you say yes, that doesn't mean it's a response from your gut. And start knowing the difference between when your gut is saying yes, which is more of like a Notice how you do it. If you go back and listen to past podcast episodes of this show, you will hear me like grunting through the entire thing. So people will say something like, I don't mean to do that. It is a natural thing that happens when I am in agreement, when my gut is like, yes. It's not a yes from my throat. It's not me going, yes, yes, yes. The is what comes from my gut. And because when you're answering from your throat, you can be answering from your head, you can be answering from these other centers. And that's not the one that we're looking to trigger with your strategy. Your strategy is for your gut to turn on, because when your gut turns on, then you have access to all of that beautiful, I love to work energy. When you have access to that, that's when you are able to get just, it's not just the amount of work that you can get done, it's the quality of work that you can get done. It's the magnetism that you've activated in yourself, because you've activated this juicy, loving life, lit up, just gorgeous energy that people are like, I want to be around that. That feels so good. Because that's the thing, sacral energy, you'll notice that other types want to be around you when you are in high energy. My son is a projector. My husband is a projector as well. And my sacral energy, I know, is something that's very attractive to them. My son is very attached to me. And we have a healthy relationship with that, but he prefers me a lot to my husband a lot of times for certain things. And I've come to realize that a lot of it is a little bit of him just kind of getting a high off that buzz that my sacral gives him. I have 3 motors defined. I'm also emotional and he's not. We attract people who have the opposite as us. Where we are undefined, we're going to be attracted to people who have that defined, because that energy is something that feels really good for us to be around, because it's different, particularly sacral energy. So when you're sacral and you're lit up and that energy is turned on, people feel that, and you start to pull them in with something other than your words, other than your copy, other than your offer. It becomes who you are, and they're attracted to you and your energy. And if it's turned on that way, it's authentic to you. So it's a good connection. This is how we create energetic bonds with people. This is how we pull people in who are meant for us without the copy necessarily being exactly right. All of that pouring over those details is such a distraction, when you could be in the right energy, which will give you the right message, which will allow you to show up in a way that is simpler and more effective. It doesn't mean that you don't need to know how to write anything. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that all of that work is not valid. It absolutely is. But we can pay an unbalanced, unnecessary amount of time and attention to that, out of distracting ourselves from getting all the rest of it wrong. Out of just to distract ourselves from the way that we feel. It's like, okay, well, I'll just learn a new skill. I'll learn how to write the perfect caption template. I'll learn how to write the perfect sales page. I will pour over these details. I will get so in the weeds that will help me forget about the bigger thing that's out of alignment here. And if you've done that, you've probably poured a lot of energy into places that it didn't really help you. This is where you can have a tremendous leap without learning any more skills. This is how you access the skills that have felt like they were right at your fingertips, but just out of your grasp at the same time. It's like, I know it's there, but for some reason I can't put my hands around it. When you start accessing it through just being authentically you, you suddenly allow those skills, allow that talent, allow all those things that have been bubbling under the surface, those voices that have been speaking to you, telling you that they were there, but it's so frustrating because you can't get to them. Follow your strategy and follow your authority, and you will gain access to all of that. And it will come out in the most beautiful way, and it will attract the right people to you. So I hope you found this helpful. I hope that you found this insightful. I would love to know. So please do a little screenshot if you listen to this, share it in your stories, tag me, tell me what you loved about the episode. I love getting messages. DM me if you loved it. Please, please, please go check out our website, NicoleLano.me, for all of the offers that we have. I do human design readings there, which have been amazing. Those are one-on-one readings. And there's also your chance you can absolutely hop into the Limitless Entrepreneur with us, where that is my group program, where we are always covering all of this. You get access to all of my digital courses. Plus you get coaching with me regularly. Every single week you can hop in and get coached on your design, on your business, on your strategy, on all the things. We can clear out the old and we can align you with the new and give you all the actionable steps to take so that you can get there. I would love to see you in any of those. I will leave you all with this. You are only limited by the limitations that you accept. And when you stop accepting those limitations, that is when you become limitless. So go out there and be limitless, everyone. I will see you in the next episode. If you loved this episode, please leave us a review on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you're listening to this podcast. And if you want to stay in touch with us, we would love to have you as a part of our Facebook community, Practical Manifestors. It's a community for process-driven women looking for clear and actionable steps to embodying a life of wealth and alignment. Join us at Practical Manifestors in Facebook or go to www.innerceogroup.com.